They wanna take my throne. They couldn't build their own. They can't believe my growth. They see the change, the tone, but they couldn't handle that. No, they couldn't handle that.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel where we discuss popular mainstream music, and in this video we're going to be discussing Billboard's top 21st century pop stars. Okay, they made a list and we're going to be focusing on the top two, which is Taylor Swift was named number 2 and Beyonce, which was named number 1. We're going to focus on these top two because it's created a lot of conversation, discussion on who deserves the top first spot. Should it be reversed the other way around? Beyonce number 2, Taylor number 1. Caused a lot of discussion and I want to discuss it, so it's going to be a Beyonce versus Taylor Swift video, okay? But before we get into that, if you enjoyed the little snippet of music in the beginning of this video, that is my music, guys. I'm a music artist too. You can definitely search my music. All you got to do is type my name, Sam Dolphin, and it will pop up here on YouTube. You can also stream my music on all music streaming platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music, so definitely check it out, guys. I'd really appreciate it. So getting back into the video, okay, so Billboard created this list of the top 21st century artists, pop stars of the 21st century. And it's caused so much discussion about the number 1 and number 2 spot, which is Taylor Swift and Beyonce. Beyonce being number 1, Taylor Swift being number 2. And people want to know, well, who deserves? Some people feel like Taylor should get the number 1 spot. Some people feel like Beyonce should get the number 1 spot. And I actually made a video about comparing Taylor Swift and Beyonce a couple years ago, considering their rollouts, their tours, and all of that type of stuff. So very interesting to do it again. This time we're going to discuss, compare and contrast Taylor Swift and Beyonce, and I'll come up with my own conclusions of who I think should be number 1, number 2, based off of their qualities. Okay, so we're going to be comparing their qualities, and this isn't about who's better. This is about understanding each artist's legacy, each artist's brand, each artist's special ability. Okay, and then you guys can tell me who you guys think should be number 1. But based on the list that Billboard made it clear that it's not just about charting. Okay, it's not just about having the highest charts or the highest numbers. It's about music videos. It's about iconic moments. It's about creating culture. So it's a mixture of commercialism and also being influential. So without further ado, let's start comparing the two. So the first thing I'm going to go over is what they actually have in common, okay? What the two actually have in common. And the first thing is their promotion, especially during 2023, a lot that they've done similar. Both ladies, Taylor Swift and Beyonce, had both tours, okay, both huge mega tours. Their tours were the biggest tours. I think it was them two and SZA. Hugest tours, Taylor Swift and Beyonce. And then on top of that, 3-hour-long tours, which is unique. Tours are usually like 2 hours long, maybe a little bit more. But their tour was actually 3 hours long. And on top of that, they both put tour films. They both put films out for their tour. So promotion-wise, they were pretty much going neck and neck. This is actually what inspired me to make that video first with Taylor Swift and Beyonce, because their promotion was very, very similar. Both doing tours, both doing films, both doing 3-hour-long tours. Both had their albums out during the same time, so on a promotion level, they were going back and forth with each other. The next thing that they have a lot in common is their strong, obsessed fan bases, okay? So you have the Beehive, and then you have the Swifties, which is a large, very intense fan base. You saw it in the tours. You saw how passionate they are. You see how they act online. You see how they defend themselves. You see how they come out for their idols, Taylor Swift and Beyonce. You see how they come out during the Eras tour. All the fans of Swifties were like dressed up in different themes that represented Taylor Swift's different eras. So I mean, they really go ham even with the costuming. And then you have with Beyonce's fan Beehive, which is one of the most intense fan bases You see how they act, you see how they defend her online, and you see how they come out for her during the tour and the show, wearing all the silver and everything. So both also have very intense fan bases, okay? Very, very intense, kind of like a cult-like fan bases that go really strong and heavy for them. Because that's another thing that they have strongly in common. And I feel like because they have that in common, that's what caused a lot of the conversation and the discourse about who deserves #1, because, you know, they have intense fan bases and each is gonna feel like their idol should win over the other. So that's another thing that they have. And they're also one of the very few artists that still have these occult followings, fan bases. Not a lot have them, especially nowadays. So that's another thing that they have in common. And another thing that they also really have in common is how incredibly ambitious that they are. Like I said again, a lot of what they did even last year, their tour, their film, a lot of that didn't even have to be done. Okay, their legacies have already been imprinted. But you see that the fact that they have this huge legacy is because of how hard they keep going, their consistency. Through eras and eras and eras, they come again. You know, Taylor Swift's on, I don't even know what album Taylor Swift is on, but at this point, she has a long list of albums at this point. And she kind of doesn't even need to do anymore, okay? But she continues to keep going because they're very ambitious. Both, same thing with Beyonce. Very, very ambitious. Doesn't really need to have an album out anymore. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. But you can tell that they have this passion of being on top, being #1, solidifying their legacy and their stance in the music industry. That's why they've been so consistent, constantly, more than their other peers. If you compare them to their other peers, they take a longer breaks, you know, but when it comes to B and TS, they've been pretty consistent for a very long time. And I think that's because they're very ambitious. Now that is what they have in common, but now let's contrast them and see how they're different, which they do have lots of differences. And the first thing that I want to focus on is their special abilities, what they are actually known for. So when it comes to their special abilities, when it comes to Beyonce, it's mainly performing. Okay, performance is the thing that sells. That's what she's known for, the best performers of like this newer generation. You look at all the performances, definitely Beyonce's on top, definitely the top performer. While you have Taylor Swift, who is special abilities is songwriting. Okay, so songwriting is a special ability. Not necessarily the greatest performer, the greatest vocalist, but when it comes to the songwriting, that's TS's special ability. So they actually differentiate, and in terms of like their talents, okay? Of course, they're multi-talented, they do multiple things, but when you look at what they're really known for on a talent level, with B, it would definitely is gonna be performing. Performance, the top performer of this newer generation, most iconic performance of this generation. Whereas with TS is gonna be definitely songwriting. Songwriting is her special ability. That's what most people know her for when it comes to talent, and that is pretty much the raw talent that she's come with. So when it comes to their special abilities, they differentiate in that sense. They have different special abilities. The next thing where they differ is in their brands, okay? With B's brand is more about being glamorous and untouchable. So she's the kind of star that is unrelatable, you know, is supposed to represent something more godlike, okay? Something, you know, you don't get to hear her talk, you don't get to see her. Every time you do, she's like incredibly flawless. It's supposed to be a very glamorized image, okay? Where with TS is more about being relatable. Okay, her image is more about relatability. And that's what made her big. Okay, so with B, it's like people glamorize her. People see her as untouchable. This is why people say a lot of things about her, that she's the best, this and that. Her whole brand is about being untouchable, being incredibly glamorous, being something out of this world. Taylor Swift's brand originates from being relatable. Okay, TS is about relatability. You know, she's just like, you know, the girl who's just chilling. She's not the, you know, the hottest girl. She just has her guitar. She's dressed kind of casually. And, you know, She's just singing innocent songs, you know, very relatable. Her image has always been about relatability, not being the coolest person, not being the most glamorous person. Just, you know, her pen and just songwriting and just kind of playing the guitar with not this like over glamorization, over production in her music, her artistry, and her brand and image. So both contrasts in that. B is a lot more glamorous, about being untouchable, and TS is about being very relatable, you know, the person that you can relate to. And then the next part that I wanted to compare them to is their legacies, okay? So when it comes to their legacies and what they let down, both have great legacies for many reasons, but the main one when it comes to B would be her talent, okay? Her talent. B might not have the highest numbers, okay? If you were to, like, if you even look through the list, okay? Billboard's 21st Century list, you know, commercially, if you talk about chart-wise, B is pretty high up there. She's very high up there, but not the highest, even though she's number one. You know, when it comes to B's legacy, it is her talent that speaks most. So she might not have the highest numbers, the most number ones, okay? However, she does have quite a few number ones, a lot of number ones, and a lot of very successful albums. If you were to compare it to like everyone, she's up there, but not the highest. However, her legacy, that's the highest, that really stands out, that no one can beat, is the talent, what she's known for performing in her talent. So the legacy that she's going to leave behind is always going to be the talent. People are always going to be like, this was the best performer of the newer generation. This person's talent is incredible, performing skills incredible. No one can compare. Her legacy is based off of the talent. That's going to be the one that speaks the most. When it comes to TS's legacy is definitely talent too, but it's also very much commercialism. TS has the numbers. She has some of the highest numbers, highest streams. One of the highest streams, I think one of the highest female streams, a female artist. Taylor Swift's numbers are high up there. Her Eras tour sold the most. Even though B's sold a lot too, but TS's sold the most. Her movie sold out the most. I mean, when it comes to numbers and the commercial success, Taylor Swift is 100% on top of there, like 100% on top of there, you know? So when it comes to their legacies, okay, both are talented, both are very commercially successful. However, one with B, you're gonna lean more towards talent. That's gonna be the one that speaks the loudest. That's the legacy. And with TS, you're gonna lean more towards commercialism, commercial success. That's gonna be the one that stands out. Okay, she might not be the best singer, the best performer, you know. However, when it comes to how much successful she is, how much she sells, her popularity, I mean, nobody beats TS. She just has that. I mean, she could drop something and it's automatically number one. So again, they contrast differently into commercialism and also talent. So again, Beyonce to Taylor Swift, Beyonce's more balanced. She has best of both worlds. Taylor does too, but not as balanced as Beyonce does. And so because Beyonce has more of both, the commercial success and the influence, okay, the cultural influence, that's gonna make her the top. Okay, that's gonna make her the top artist, where Taylor Swift really excels in commercial success, but when it comes to influence and cultural influence, it's there. But you compare it to her peers, a lot of other people have had greater moments, culturally, influence-wise, artistic-wise. So that's why I feel like B deserves the number one spot, because she has a little more of a balance of both, while Taylor Swift leans more to commercial success. Still very influential, but not as powerful as B. Okay, when it comes to both, having both aspects, commercial and influence. So that's my personal opinion. I think B definitely deserves to get that number one spot because she has best of both worlds more strongly than TS. But what do you guys think? Okay, do you think TS does? Do you think she should be number one? Do you think B should be number one? how would you compare and contrast them? Okay, and how would you rate them based off of the best 21st century pop star? So let me know in the comment section below. I love hearing your guys' comments, and I'll check you guys out on the next video. Thanks for watching.